you got to just get out there and try. It's like trying to learn how to play basketball without ever picking up a ball. It's impossible. You can read all the books from Michael Jordan and all the great basketball players. You're not going to learn how to play or even see what you have until you pick up a ball. Running a business and being a business owner is not all fun and games. And it's for one main reason. Every time my phone rings as the owner of a business with 40 employees now, every time my phone rings, most of the time, it is not for somebody to share good news with me. It's the bad news. They don't call the owner. They don't call the manager of small businesses. They don't call the head guy unless there's a problem that they don't know how to solve. They don't call and say, hey, I just left the customer's house and everything was great. They're really happy with us. That's not how the interaction goes. Real estate is a little bit different now, a little bit lower stress. But when we were in our service business and our phone rang from one of our guys on the ground out on these trucks, it was almost always a problem. How you manage those problems and how you deal with them is another thing. But if we just go back to this notion that every time the phone rings and the bottom of every problem, the bigger the problem gets, the more it goes to the owner of the business. Everybody thinks entrepreneurship is fun. They look at people who are successful and they think, oh my gosh, starting a business is unbelievable. Look at this. Very few people realize that entrepreneurs don't get good news. The good news doesn't come to the entrepreneurs. Of course, they have success, they make sales, but much more like it, they're called upon to solve problems. So it's not always as fun as people think it is. There's a lot of risk. It's not for everybody. I sit and talk with people and I tell stories of the early days in the student storage business. And to paint a picture, we were 23. We had risked everything. It was 2013. We had a big growth year this was in Boston. We had a big growth year. We had more customers than we could have expected, and we didn't know what we were doing. So we were severely understaffed. And these are periods of time when I would spend a 3-week stretch sleeping an average of 3 to 4 hours a night. And the big busy weekend in Boston, which is always Labor Day weekend, we're delivering all this stuff. This would be a 4-day stretch when we had half of our deliveries for the whole year, this 4-day stretch. Those days I wouldn't sleep at all. And I have a horror story that I'll share with you, just kind of paint a picture of how rough it can be to be an entrepreneur. We were in Boston. We got way too many customers. We were severely understaffed. We were working our employees too hard, too many hours. We're talking driving truck, doing physical labor for 60 hours a week, 12-hour days, several days in a row. And it's just really, really hard on your body. And so they started to basically quit. And we're the 3rd day into this. And this is back when I was the customer service department. I was the billing department. I was making the schedules. I was helping to load the truck. I was organizing all the people and hiring the people and trying to get them to show up to do their job. And we were overloaded, which was a good thing because we made some money, but man, we had a lot of work to do all in a very short window and not very much time to plan for it. And we were doing deliveries, we were taking stuff back to these customers. And the 3 previous days I had probably slept 1 or 2 hours in a warehouse on a blow-up mattress in a grody warehouse in Everett, Massachusetts on a blow-up mattress. I had not taken a shower because I didn't have time, and there wasn't a shower at the warehouse. And I would basically drive a truck all day, unloading, and my partner was doing this exact same thing with me. Dan was there with me every step of the way here. But I'm going to tell you from my perspective, we were slammed with customer service inquiries, making schedules, unloading trucks, and loading trucks. And every morning at 7 a.m., 10 guys would show up and we'd send 5 trucks out with full of stuff, 25 customers, 30 customers each, 5 trucks out. And then we'd take them an empty truck in the middle of the day while they were getting lunch and we'd swap it out for a new truck, another full truck. So each crew would unload 2 trucks. Well, we had been working nonstop for 3 days. We'd drive a truck all day. We'd get home. We'd need to start loading new trucks. We'd send our guys home because they were too busy. And me and Dan would basically stay up, from 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. loading these 5 trucks for the next day. And then from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m., we would send out the schedules for the guys the next day of like where their first stop was, what they needed to know for the next work day. And we'd also answer customer service inquiries all night. At one point, literally, we're 3 days into this, working nonstop. The morning comes and 4 of the 10 employees don't show up. So Dan takes a truck by himself and I take a truck by myself. And the other 3 trucks go out with 2 guys each on them. We had 6 employees left. Nobody at the warehouse to load new trucks. We're going to have to do that later that night. I'm out on a truck by myself and I get a call from one of the guys. Pick up the phone. Hey, Nick, it's Terrence. I'm in Harvard Square in Cambridge. As you know, if you've ever been there, it's very small roads. This kid's driving a 16-foot truck. I just sideswiped a car and the person's screaming at me. I don't know what to do. Send me a picture, and this brand new Mercedes had just had the whole side of it ripped off. And this is in our truck, the truck that we own. So we're going to have an insurance claim. I'm telling you, $20,000 worth of damage on this Mercedes, rear panel, door, window, front panel, tire problems, everything. He hit it hard. I don't know what he was thinking. So that was stressful as hell. Next call I get is from a guy driving another truck, and they're like, hey, Nick, our truck is broken down on the side of the road. I don't know what happened to it. It's not running. And this is still full of stuff. This truck is full of stuff. Turns out, I learned an hour later, he had put gasoline in a diesel truck, which is not easy to do. That is something that's not covered by the insurance with Ryder. We got a $1,500 bill from that. It was brutal. Then I get a call from the third person, the only other truck, and basically both guys quit and went home in the middle of the day and left the truck with the keys in it in Brighton, Massachusetts. At this point, I'm getting my phone blown up from new customer calls, and I have tons of anxiety, and it's the day's going on. I hadn't eaten lunch yet. It's about 2 p.m. I'm out of energy, hadn't slept well in a week. And I had a mental breakdown on the side of the street. I had a panic attack, an anxiety attack. I remember I was by myself. I walked over the sidewalk, put the truck in park, walked over to the sidewalk, curled up in a little ball, and cried. I'd say for 20 minutes, I cried. I just didn't do it. I left my phone in the truck, and I cried for 20 minutes. I called my mom, crying because the only thing that I wanted more than anything in the world was to be at home in Southern Indiana, not running this business in Boston, Massachusetts, to never think about the student storage business again. And I was crying to her, just being like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Why would I put myself through this? This is what happened. And she didn't know what to say. Obviously, she felt bad for me. 20 minutes later, I'm starting to get it together. And I called my partner, Dan, and he basically said, Nick, we got 2 days of this left. He's like, you got to just get it together. Stop being a baby, in so many words, he said. And he was right, and he got me together, and I pulled it together, and I drove that truck until it was empty. I drove that truck empty to the next truck that was full that the guys had abandoned, got in that truck and drove it myself and unloaded it. We had another truck at the warehouse that we needed to unload as well. I got home from unloading these boxes. I think we went out at 7 a.m. I got home at about 5 a.m. from unloading these boxes, delivering customer stuff. My partner was in the same exact boat. And I just remember that being the hardest time in my entrepreneurial career. I was sleep deprived, not to do too much information, but I had a really, really bad case of chafing between my thighs where I was bloody. I was bleeding, so I had to walk around with bandages wrapped. Again, I hadn't showered in 3 days. I went to laundromat to do my laundry, and I was using like baby wipes to keep myself from like really smelling up elevators with customers. But there are many stories like this in my journey. I mean, we were in a very hard business. We learned a lot about it, about what stress is, about what real stress is. And we got through it, but not without some scars, some mental and emotional scars. Every single entrepreneur who's been successful has war stories. They have times when they did not want to be entrepreneurs. They have times when they had to do something for long periods of time that they did not want to do. They have times where they suffered mentally, emotionally, went through anxiety, went through these things that entrepreneurs deal with. Every single person who's been successful that I know has done that. You cannot get around it. So if you're watching this, if you're consuming media online thinking there's a get-rich-quick scheme, all I got to do is watch Tai Lopez and open this drop shipping company, and then there's these easy methods. There is no easy methods. If you're not willing to suffer, if you're not willing to do things that other people are not willing to do, then you're not going to build the wealth. That's, it's really hard to get in this world. Everybody thinks making money is easy. I spend a lot of time on Twitter, and there's nothing worse than the amount of people on Twitter that think making money is easy. It's not. Business is fucking hard. Making money is hard. Managing people is hard. Managing customers is hard. The only way that you can get better at it is trying it. The only way that you can see if you have what it takes is to give it a shot. You can read, you can listen to me, you can listen to all 285 or what are we at, 300 of my podcasts. You can do all those things, but when it comes down to it, you got to just get out there and try. It's like trying to learn how to play basketball without ever picking up a ball. It's impossible. You can read all the books from Michael Jordan and all the great basketball players. You're not going to learn how to play or even see what you have until you pick up a ball. So embrace it. Embrace the journey. Embrace the suffering. Those tough parts of entrepreneurship, those things that are really hard, that is what makes the success that much more rewarding. And it leaves me now with a real sense of pride that I was able to push through and handle those very, very difficult situations. So I'm just going to encourage you to embrace it as the journey, enjoy the ride, try not to let the stress cripple you, and just be strong and fight. Big news, guys. I created a free PDF that details my method on how I analyze a self-storage facility and figure out what it's worth. Give me a pen, the back of a napkin, and a couple metrics, and I can figure out about what the property is going to be worth to me. If you want to download this PDF, click in the show notes, the first link, and you can give me your email address, and you get a email right away with a 4-page PDF that outlines exactly how I think about underwriting or giving my initial analysis on a self-storage facility. Again, click the link in the show notes, and you're going to get that document for free. This episode of Sweaty Startup is brought to you by SupportShepherd.com. SHEPHERD. They are a full-service headhunting agency in the Philippines to help you find talent for your service business at 20% of the cost of U.S. equivalents. I've hired 8 employees through Support Shepherd. I cannot speak highly enough about how it is revolutionizing my business. This company finds you candidates. They background check them. They do personality tests. They make sure they're a good fit based on your job description. They set up the interviews, and they even help you with the employment contract when you're ready to make the hire. I cannot recommend them enough. Check out SupportShepherd.com to learn more.